Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're doing something a little bit different.
Bit of an experiment.
Yeah, exactly. We've taken a snapshot of just one single day, December 18th, 2025, and we've tried to filter out all the noise. Our whole mission here is to look at only the big agenda-setting events, the things that really shift money markets and, state power.
Right.
We're going to try to decode who's setting the rules, who pays the price, and how all these stories that seem disconnected actually, well, they form a kind of economic logic for you.
And that's the key, right? Because when you look at the source material from this one day, what you see is a collision.
A collision.
On one hand, you have a president pushing these really aggressive policies, both at home and abroad.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you have, well, global market realities and a very assertive Congress pushing right back, acting as a huge check on that power.
So our goal is to just break it all down.
Exactly. We'll connect the dots between, say, Venezuelan oil tankers and the future of American climate research, and, how all of that ties directly into the financial time bomb that might be sitting in your healthcare premiums.
Okay, let's start there then, where global markets meet state power. Let's talk Venezuela. The administration is really ratcheting up the pressure on the Maduro regime. I mean, in a big way. We're seeing directives for a blockade of sanctioned oil tankers.
And they formally designated Maduro's government a foreign terrorist organization.
Right, so the White House is trying to engineer this post-Maduro future. And they're basically twisting the arms of the U.S. energy industry to get back in there.
And here's where the immediate irony kicks in.
Yeah.
Because the market is fighting back against that exact policy.
How so?
The U.S. benchmark oil price is right now hovering around $56 a barrel.
56. Okay, and for context.
I mean, that's the lowest price we've seen since, January of 2021.
So why does cheap oil matter here? If the goal is political, shouldn't American companies just jump at the chance to get on the White House's good side?
You'd think so, but the financial math for shareholders just completely trumps the political math of the administration.
The Venezuela Oil Paradox, you called it.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. When crude prices are that low, companies like Exxon or ConocoPhillips have absolutely zero incentive to pour huge amounts of capital into a really complex, really unstable geopolitical situation.
They're just better places to put their money.
Far better, safer, more profitable options all over the world. The risk-to-reward ratio just doesn't make any sense for them.
So the White House is yelling, "Get in!" But the market is whispering, "It's not worth it."
And the market's whisper is louder. Yeah. Corporate money effectively neutralizes this big, aggressive executive action simply because the return on investment isn't there.
So that policy is just stalled.
Pretty much. The whole effort is undermined. Only Chevron is still there, really, as a major U.S. player.
And why them?
They have a special license to act as a kind of stabilizing force, which basically lets them protect their assets for the future. But the bigger push to get the whole U.S. oil industry to reshape Venezuela, it's failing. And it's not because of a political rival, but because of the cold, hard price of a barrel of oil.
That sets up a fascinating contrast. In Venezuela, the market is checking policy.
Right.
Now let's pivot to Russia and Ukraine, where the U.S. policy seems to be moving in the exact opposite direction.
Yeah.
Towards, a huge accommodation.
A profound accommodation, yeah, with massive financial implications. There are these sensitive U.S.-Russia talks planned for Miami this weekend, after these marathon sessions in Berlin.
And the interesting detail is who is in the Russian delegation.
That's the tell. Kirill Dmitriev, the head of Russia's sovereign wealth fund, is there. His presence just screams that the real talks are about finance, not just security.
They're negotiating the price of peace.
And it is a steep price. The U.S. is pushing Ukraine towards some major concessions to end this war, which has been going on for nearly 4 years now.
We're talking about things like territorial concessions, capping their military.
And formally saying no to NATO membership. But the real lever, the one Dmitriev is there for, is unfreezing billions of dollars in Russian assets and lifting all those economic sanctions.
Which is the core of this Whitcoff Peace Plan we've heard about.
It's the absolute heart of it. And this isn't just a concession, you have to understand. It's a massive injection of cash right into the Russian state. It signals a complete reversal of state policy.
The groundwork was already laid for this, right?
It was. The administration's new national security strategy already stopped calling Russia a threat and argued against NATO expansion. So by unfreezing assets and lifting sanctions, the U.S. is not just relieving pressure, it's actively boosting Russia's financial standing on the world stage. It's basically an economic reward for military action.
So globally, we've got two completely different models here.
A very clear picture.
In Venezuela, the market undermines the White House's goal. In the Russia situation, the White House is rewriting foreign policy to give huge economic benefits to an adversary.
It shows you the priorities. When the political will is there to deliver an economic prize, things happen fast.
But when that political will fights against market logic, like in Venezuela,
The whole thing just grinds to a halt.
okay, let's bring this conversation back home. Let's look at the domestic battles, starting with one that has just massive economic ripple effects for private industry.
You're talking about the move to dismantle federally funded climate research.
Exactly. The directive from OMB Director Russ fought to get rid of the National Center for Atmospheric Research, NCRR.
It's a huge deal. The administration is, they're framing it politically. They call it a stronghold for left-wing climate lunacy.
Right. But if we strip away the politics, what does NCRR actually do for the economy?
That's the real question. It provides the absolute gold standard for long-term weather modeling.
Like for hurricanes and things.
Hurricanes, air quality, drought forecasting, severe weather predictions. And this isn't some abstract academic stuff. This data is the foundation for risk management across huge industries. Insurance, agriculture, energy, they all depend on it.
Wow, so they're effectively defunding the risk management department for the insurance industry.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. If you're a big reinsurance company trying to figure out the price for catastrophic risk in Florida or the Midwest in 5 years, you are using NCIR's models, period.
So what are the consequences then?
They're immediate, and they are expensive. Without NCIR, as one analyst put it, the nation is less prepared for the dangers of a warming world.
And the private sector has to pick up the slack.
Right. Corporations now have to either build these incredibly expensive systems themselves, or they just operate with a lot more uncertainty. And that uncertainty translates directly into higher premiums for you, the consumer.
So a political decision immediately raises commercial costs.
Absolutely. But it's not the only story of the day.
Hmm.
We're also seeing Congress push back hard.
The National Defense Authorization Act, the NDAA, a massive $901 billion bill.
And it passed with a huge bipartisan vote, 77-20. This thing is basically a masterclass in how Congress can check the executive branch.
So it's not just about the money.
Not at all. Congress used its power of the purse to dictate policy and demand some real accountability. We can break it down into, 3 clear examples.
Okay, let's start with the most specific one. It's almost petty.
It is. It's a financial control mechanism. Congress is withholding 1/4 of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's entire travel budget.
His travel budget, why?
It's being held until Congress gets the unedited video footage of those controversial double-tap boat strikes against alleged drug smugglers down in Latin America.
So they're literally grounding the Secretary of Defense until he hands over the tapes.
They're docking his frequent flyer miles to force transparency. It's using financial penalties to get oversight on military operations.
Incredible. What was the second check? This one on foreign policy?
This one dictates where the military can even be. The NDAA sets minimum troop levels abroad.
Okay.
Specifically, it says the number of troops in Europe can't drop below 76,000, and in South Korea, not below 28,500. And the administration can't change that without getting approval from Congress first.
So Congress is dictating military strategy, basically.
They're preventing the executive from just unilaterally reshaping our commitments overseas.
And the third check seems to fly directly in the face of the Russia policy we just talked about.
It absolutely does. The bill authorizes $400 million to arm and equip Ukraine's military.
While the president is trying to get Ukraine to make a deal with Moscow.
Exactly. This is Congress using its financial muscle to say our commitment to Kiev is not changing, directly undercutting the president's own diplomatic strategy. The legislature is ensuring policy continuity no matter what the White House wants.
It's a real tug of war, which I guess brings us to the FCC.
Another one, yeah.
On the surface, it seems small a Senate hearing about Jimmy Kimmel's late night show. But it has huge implications for regulatory power.
It really does. The FCC chair, Brendan Carr, was getting grilled by Senators Ted Cruz on one side, Democrats on the other, about threatening broadcasters over comments Kimmel made after those assassinations.
The core of the fight isn't really about what was said, though, is it?
No, it's not about the awful things, as they put it. It's about how far the FCC's regulatory power goes, specifically over political speech.
Traditionally, the FCC handles, Indecency and obscenity.
Right. But now senators from both parties are arguing that the FCC has no authority to police political commentary, even if it's really offensive.
They're defending free speech against what they see as the FCC being used as a weapon.
Exactly. And this is a massive legal precedent being fought over right now. If the FCC can successfully intimidate broadcasters over political content, it sets a chilling precedent for what can be said on the airwaves, period. It's a fight over who controls the microphone.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly for the biggest domestic issue we found, the financial time bomb.
Yeah, healthcare, the expiring financial cliff.
We're talking about the Enhanced Affordable Care Act subsidies and the cost-sharing reduction payments, the CSRs. They're all set to expire at the end of December.
And this is probably the most immediate, tangible economic threat to millions of American families. If Congress doesn't act, premiums for people on the ACA exchanges will go through the roof.
For a lot of people, affordable health care will just vanish overnight.
It will.
So let's quickly clarify. We know the subsidies help lower the monthly premium, but what exactly are those cost-sharing reduction payments, the CSRs?
The CSRs are critical. They're payments the federal government makes directly to insurance companies.
To the insurers, okay.
And that money is used to lower the deductibles, the co-payments, all the out-of-pocket costs for low-income people on the plans. If those payments expire, the insurers still have to cover those costs, but now they're not getting reimbursed by the government.
Which would completely destabilize the market.
Completely.
Yeah.
It forces them to jack up premiums for everyone in that insurance pool to make up for that massive loss of money.
This sounds like a crisis that should have a simple bipartisan fix. So what's the one thing stopping them?
It all comes down to the Hyde Amendment.
The decades-old rule barring federal funding for abortion.
That's it. The entire legislative deadlock is about whether that amendment should apply to Obamacare subsidies.
And House Republicans have come up with a really targeted financial tactic to force the issue.
They've weaponized the financial cliff.
Yeah.
Their plan is to deny those CSR payments, the money that goes to insurers, but only for insurers in the 13 states that require abortion coverage in their plans.
States like California, New York, New Jersey.
The big ones. So they're using federal money as a club to punish state-level mandates.
That's a backdoor ban.
It's a highly strategic backdoor ban. It doesn't legally ban abortion coverage in those states, but it creates such a massive financial hole for any insurer who operates there that they either have to leave the market
or force policyholders there to pay an enormous premium increase.
And that's the endgame. The ideological fight over the Hyde Amendment is now threatening to completely implode the health insurance markets in key states, creating immediate financial devastation for millions.
So to sum up, late 2025, you have the executive branch testing the limits of its power everywhere.
Venezuela, climate research, media regulation.
And at every turn, it's being met by either the market pushing back or Congress pushing back.
All of it happening against this backdrop of a huge domestic financial crisis in healthcare, which is itself blocked by a deep ideological fight.
If you had to synthesize it all, what's the one theme?
I think the defining theme is the limit of state power. I mean, on the world stage, the simple cold price of oil is doing more to neutralize the president's foreign policy in Venezuela than any diplomat could.
While at home, the health insurance market is about to collapse, not because of some market failure, but because of pure political gridlock.
Right. The ultimate check on power in late 2025 isn't always another political party, it's economics.
The price tag dictates the outcome.
It really does.
Which brings us to our final question for you, the learner. Think about. When it comes to these huge decisions about the military, about foreign policy, about climate research, how much of the administration's agenda is ultimately being constrained, not by politics or morality, but by the cold, hard math of corporate capital and global market prices? What happens when a low oil price is a more effective check on power than Congress? We'll leave you to consider the cost of that influence.